Badass Attitudes, licensed here. A badass perseveres with patience and is flexible with their dreams while they stay the course. A podcast for successful badassery with Kelly Orchard. Certifying badasses, one podcast at a time.
Well, hello. That's right. This is Kelly Orchard, certifying badasses, one podcast at a time. And you know, like Mr. Ocean was just saying, a badass knows how to stay the course and stays persistent, but also knows how to be flexible with their dreams and goals. And I'm doing this whole thing on recalibrating your mental health for this summer. And I'm a prime example of how that all worked out. I'm home now. Thank you very much. Let me share you a little bit about the drive home. So, you know, it's a 20-hour drive from, well, maybe you don't know, but you do now. It's a 20-hour drive from Georgetown, Texas, where my daughter and family lives, to Temecula, California, where I reside and have my practice and podcast and broadcast out of Michelle's place, Cancer Resource Center. So it's 20 hours. So I left early Sunday morning. Sunday was my last day there. I wanted to, I get up early. I'm an early riser, and in order to wait to say goodbye to them before I hit the road, I'd have to sit there for like 3 or 4 hours. And I wasn't inclined to do that when I'm burning daylight, folks. I could be on the road. So I said my goodbyes on Saturday night to my daughter and my 3 grandchildren and my son-in-law. I loaded up my truck and kind of settled down for the evening, and then went to sleep and got up. And as soon as I got up, rather than having coffee in my normal leisurely morning that I do, I just brushed my teeth, pulled my hair up, got dressed, and got in the truck. So I was gone by 5:30 a.m. Now, taking into consideration there's a 2-hour time zone difference, so it was actually 3:30 at home. And I'm inclined, I'm traveling alone, so I'm inclined to just go as far as I can until my body can't take it anymore, or until it gets dark enough that I can't see well, because I won't drive at night, not anymore. Anyway, so I'd say long story short, because it would be a 16-hour story if I told you every little move I made. But I was just enjoying myself, honestly. I was reflecting on the trip. I was having memories of playing with my grandkids and my daughter, and spending time in the activities that we did. You know, we went to the Poppy Festival when I first got there to Georgetown, and we wrapped up the whole month with going to the Whimsy and Wonder Festival. And it was, and in between there was plenty of quality family time, but also quantity time for me to sort of reflect and do some self-care, by myself in a trailer, in a camping-like environment. Completely new perspective. I'm going to call it my Goldilocks trip, because it wasn't too short and it wasn't too long. It was just right. And so as I'm driving home, I'm reflecting on that, and I'm listening to an audiobook, which is something that I did a lot of, was listening to audiobooks. And then I was listening to local radio. I was listening to my own music tunes, on my badass soundtrack, or just some likes and new music, not new music that I'm discovering, but old music that I've rediscovered. And then listening to local radio all the way, through. And by the time I got to the halfway point in Las Cruces, New Mexico, it's only like, I don't know, noon, 1 o'clock. And definitely not time to stop, but I'm at the halfway point. I'm like, right, okay. So I drive a few more hours, and I'm thinking, all right, well, let's see what happens when I get to Tucson, Arizona. So I've already broken the time zone, so I've gained 2 hours. And I'm also, I'm heading west where the sun actually sets. So I'm sort of chasing the sunset. And so by the time I got to Tucson, it was only 3:45, and there's no way I'm stopping now. And I do have a very close friend who lives close by, but I looked like I'd been driving for 13 hours. I wasn't up for visiting. I just wanted a bath and to go to sleep. And I do intend to go and visit my friend later and spend some quality time with her, but I didn't want that to be as like, hey, I'm flying through town. I'm going to stop at your house and sleep and leave. And plus, it's a little bit out of the way. It's not exactly a direct straight line to home. It's not like I'm going through her town. It would have been another 30 minutes one way, and then I have to get that 30 minutes back, which in the long run is not a big deal, but I chose to just continue to go. So I thought, okay, what is the closest city that would be big enough where the hotel brand name I know and is familiar with, because I'm not inclined to stay at a little place, seedy place that I'm not familiar with. I'm by myself. I'm traveling alone. So I got to Yuma, Arizona. 16 hours later, my body was it was done, like literally done. And so I got a little room, and I stayed the night. And I took a bath. It was the night of the full moon, supermoon, lunar eclipse. I was really hoping to be able to watch it, but my body just said, no, not going to happen. So I was asleep. But I woke up early in the morning. Still, I woke up early Monday morning, and I I mapped how long it's going to take me to get home, and it was like 3 hours and 17 minutes. And I was like, okay. That's like a drive to the grocery store, with all the things I did yesterday. So on Monday morning, I was home before 9 a.m. I actually stopped at the car wash before I pulled up into my driveway. I did one of those drive-through express car washes just to wash all the little winged creatures that I brought home with me on my windshield and my grill. All right, so I am back in the saddle here in Michelle's place, and happy to be here. Learned a lot while I was gone, and I'm sharing with you because it is time to recalibrate our mental health. And I'm grateful that my time out in Texas with family, just helped me gain a different kind of perspective. I got to see the world differently. I got to refill my cup with a lot of love. I mean, how do you not enjoy 3 grandchildren for an entire month when I didn't have anything I had to do for them? I'm sure, yes, I helped my daughter out a few times here and there. Obviously, that was part of the reason to go. I announced to her when I showed up, listen, I want that when I leave, you guys are saying, man, I'm really glad my mom came. Not, man, I'm so glad my mom's gone. So I made sure that I had that balance for their sake and for my sake. And that is something that you need to be doing as well. I saw this article. I have an article to share for you today. It's from Stanford Medicine. And it's called Mental Health Hygiene Can Improve Mood and Decrease Stress. And I like the concept of this, which is exactly what I've been doing and what I encourage you to do. And, it's a process. And so from this article written by Hadley Leggett, I think that's how you say her name. I'll put the link in the show notes. I definitely want to give credit for this article found in Stanford Medicine magazine. But for most people, the concept of hygiene conjures up images of brushing your teeth, applying deodorant, or taking a shower. Simple daily practices to keep your body clean and healthy. But mental health providers also say your mind could benefit from a quick morning tune-up. Spending even 15 minutes on mental health hygiene each day can bring a host of benefits, from improved mood and better relationships to even deeper concentration and enhanced creativity. Isn't this what I say all the time? And that's why I wrote the app of the day. Mental health hygiene includes simple practices that can improve our quality of life by preventing negative behaviors and providing emotional stability. PhD from Stanford Medicine, clinical associate professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences, who directs the mindfulness program at the Stanford Center for Integrative Medicine. A little side note here. I am certified in cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive CBT, and that is about the negative mindset and the monkey mind that goes on, and that's primarily what I focus on. I was guided. I did my training with a retired a professor emeritus from Stanford University. So I'm thrilled that I was able to be trained by someone from Stanford. It's not a Stanford certificate. It was through County of Riverside Department of Mental Health, but it was a Stanford professor. The concept of daily maintenance for mental health dates back to 1909, when former psychiatric patient and mental health advocate Clifford Beers founded the National Committee for Mental Hygiene, dedicated to preventing mental illness through positive behaviors. For some people, mental health hygiene means dedicating a few minutes of their morning routine to meditation, stretching, or walking. but also the activity can qualify as long as you are paying attention to what you are doing while you perform the task. In fact, even brushing your teeth can become part of the mental health hygiene when practiced with deliberation. A focused mind is a happy mind. Studies have shown that American adults spend nearly half of their waking hours in a state of mind wandering and with their attention focused on something other than the task directly in front of them. So often we are absent-minded and not really mentally there with the things that we're doing. Paying attention to your daily routines can make such a big impact, especially for the busy, highly accomplished people. We want to achieve big things, but ironically, it's paying attention to the smallest things that can help us get there. So paying attention to your five senses, building a calmer brain, and these are the things that I teach. And I'm going to share this article with you. And the reason I want to include this is because it's not always me talking to you. These are not just my idea. I am a constant learner. This is one of the things that for me, the recalibrating is, and this is why I'm looking for 5 to 10 people to work with me this summer. If you want to recalibrate, maybe you don't need to reinvent everything. Maybe you've already done a lot of good work in your mindset, in your home, in your personal life, in your internal thinking system. But maybe you could use some recalibration because we are coming off. Well, we're not even coming off of this crazy whirlwind, upside down, topsy-turvy, mad world roller coaster ride that we're all on. Something has shifted in you, though. And something has shifted in me, and it was time to recalibrate. And I didn't say I wasn't escaping home. This was a planned trip. My daughter was having a baby, and I wanted to be there for her, but she lives halfway across the country. So it was a deliberate and intentional plan to stay a month at this time frame. We were just actually, the time was already chosen months ago. So this wasn't like I had to go escape, but I did know, and it was intentional. And this is what I'm talking about for you. I intentionally knew that some things I was going to do while I was there. And so I'm in a process of no longer, trying to put together programs. It's already done. My mental health programs are done. I don't need to create any more. I've got Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day, which is a year. It's 365 60-second messages, daily nourishment for wisdom, success, and personal growth. They're already in book form, audio form, podcast, and airing on the radio all over the country. A thrill for me is when I'm driving down the highway and I actually hear my own Apple a Day on the radio. Not that I haven't ever heard my voice on the radio, but that would be fun. Anyways, but and then the Badass program is all done and all complete, and that's 26 video lectures with worksheets that take you through the process of the whole Badass acronym. I've already created all this content. So I knew when I was going to Texas, it wasn't to be creative on the professional aspect. I wanted to be creative more in a personal way. And I'm not much of a physical artist, the visual arts. I'm not much of that, drawing. But I do envy those who do. And so I just try my hand at sketching and drawing by listening to audiobooks and kind of, I'm doing a spiritual practices book. That's just for fun, just for me, but with kind of pictures and diagrams to demonstrate what you're doing. Utilizing heart math and frequency and vibration and how you are like a radio station and you have these energy fields within you and you emanate a signal and it represents a color, which becomes your aura. It's all very scientific and it's all very interesting to me. So I've been on a learning quest again. So when you need to recalibrate what we're talking, a couple of weeks ago, I shared with you about how broadcast transmitters, they need to be recalibrated to make sure they're broadcasting on the right signal. And it is a regular pruning practice. And that's part of the hygiene of the engineering. So when we talk about your mental health hygiene, then it means just little small practices that you can do, like brushing your teeth. But we're talking about mindfulness practices. We're talking about being willing to let go of things that are no longer helpful or serving you. And for me, some of these are actual physical things that belong to me, possessions that maybe they might hold me back. For example, I have this massive button collection, like huge button collection. I don't even know how many's in there, but I've put a tapestry together that hangs above my couch in my living room, and it goes all the way up to the ceiling, but this is a high ceiling living room. So it is I don't know. I've talked about it before on the podcast. I've shared with you, but one of the things I'm realizing is that if I want to downsize and live in a trailer, what am I going to do with that massive button collection? I think it's time for me to make a decision to let it go, which is sort of hard to do. I've been collecting them for since I was a teenager. But the thing is that, and my children do not know me without a button collection. Neither do my grandchildren. And a lot of my friends do not know me without having that button collection. But what would I do with it? Fold it up and store it in a storage shed? And then what? I don't know. I mean, so that is just a literal example for you on what is something that's holding you back. That's not necessarily holding me back emotionally, but it could hold me back physically. I mean, the thing is, when you think about heirlooms and your possessions that you might want to hand down to your children or grandchildren, you really got to take into consideration, do they even want it? And what would they even do with it? So this massive button collection, it's like, who would want it? And the story would be, that was my mom's or my grandmother's button collection. And I don't know who those people are. And I don't know why I have it. I just got stuck with it because nobody ever wanted to get rid of it. Think about those things. I mean, these are little things, but they can be big things. When you consider recalibrating your mental health or your life or your career or your relationships, what are some of the things that you hold dear, but they may not be necessary for you to continue to hold on to? Being your badass self doesn't just happen overnight. It takes perpetual pruning and work. And I've learned that small, persistent steps are the key that allow you to achieve your goals securely rather than attempting the fast track results that never last for the long term. So I developed my program designed to help you do more than just think about a badass life. It's not therapy, but it is very therapeutic and a fundamental component to your personal growth. Most of us realize that the world is not going to go back to the way it was before. So if you're ready to rediscover your purpose and passion and recalibrate your life, I'd love for you to be one of the select few to join me on the bus to Badassville this summer. When I started grad school to study psychology to become a licensed marriage and family therapist, I gained the education and the knowledge necessary to help people just like you. But more than that, I also learned more about how to help me. Over the years, I've filled my emotional and psychological toolbox with ways to cope and navigate my way through any ordeal. I'm not kidding. I have overcome so much, and my purpose is to help you do the same. I put together the best tools that you can give yourself for your emotional health and well-being. Whether you're a mom of teens, adults, or a grandparent, it's never too late to pick up some fresh perspective. And I'm living proof. I just picked up some fresh perspective. Not that I am under a lot of stress and pressure. I mean, I'm a psychotherapist, so I'm dealing with people's mental health issues all the time. And I've got my aging parents under my care, and their decline is becoming more and more apparent and evident daily. And it's stressful and it's emotional. And I'm grateful that I was able to take that time away to welcome new life into my family, the circle of life, right? I am in that sandwich generation. And that I was able to make arrangements so that my parents were still cared for here while I was away. And now that I'm home, I've got to make a couple of shifts on their behalf. But meanwhile, I also have to balance out what I've got to do for me, my health, my well-being. So the badass tools that I employ, I promise you they work, because I'm not quite going crazy. Of course I use music. I told you the trip home was a great way for me to, sort of recalibrate my mindset as I prepared on the way home. I was listening to an audiobook. I was learning and I was gaining new knowledge. I listened to some of my music, my familiar music, which stirred up happy memories. I was listening to local radio, just because it was different going through, driving driving through the country, and then sometimes I listened to total silence and just prayed and meditated on my thought and was just mindful of just the sound of silence, So that's how, but the whole trip, the whole time being away was part of my pruning and daily things and to aid me in continuing to live this badass, lifestyle. We've all heard the phrase about personal history and problems are likened to carrying around baggage. So if you've lived any length of time, you have baggage from past relationships, traumas, and disappointments that you carry around with you. It's inevitable. But eliminating your baggage is not the answer. A healthy mindset doesn't ignore the concerns of our past. We confront them head on, gain perspective and clarity, take measures to heal from the pain, and learn to carry our past as part of an integral part of who we are and who we are becoming. It sounds like what you're ready to accomplish in your life. If that sounds like it, then it's time for you to make the decision to improve your skills for successful badassery. So I'd love to have you on the journey with me this summer. It's time to take a trip while carrying your baggage appropriately with confidence, wisdom, and happiness. What are you afraid of? In order to conquer your fears, we must consider our talents and our abilities. We need to reflect on our lives, where we've been, where we are right now, where we want to be. If fear rules your heart and mind, you'll be in constant dread and defeat, leading to depression. So I'm inviting you to flip the format on your fear and negativity. I have a step-by-step plan that you can accomplish in just 30 days. Remember that your body hears what the mind is thinking. It also holds true in the physics of transmission, how radio transmitters emit their signal to receivers with their format. That's the law of physics, biology, and how we think affects the way we feel, which affects the way we behave. It's scientific. And it takes practice to flip your thinking and behaving format. But it is possible with practice. So just like badass athletes practice the fundamentals, no matter the sport, they run drills, they do basic exercises to play their best. Dancers always practice fundamentals of form and isolation and strength exercises. Business leaders attend leadership conferences, read books, and practice their basic leadership skills. Musicians, scientists, mathematicians, doctors, sales professionals practice formulas, foundations, and basic skills. Then doesn't it make perfect sense for individuals, you, to practice foundations, to flip the format on negative thinking out of fear into think positively? All right. So I would love to have a chat with you about that. But meanwhile, I got some stuff I got to do. So I'm so glad that you showed up today. So remember, your mental health hygiene is just as important as your physical hygiene and your housekeeping hygiene. I would love, first of all, you're here. But here's what I want you to do to practice something. Pay it forward. Share this podcast with a friend. All right, share it with a friend. I want to see my audience downloads double this week. And so you're responsible for just sharing this with one person. That's all. Just you share it with one person that you know could benefit from recalibrating their mindset. It's not about you need to reinvent your life or give up on everything that you've ever done. Let's focus on what's working and what you're enjoying and what's doing well. All right? And then we're going to shift your mindset and your attitude. You're going to decide to make some decisions. We're going to identify what's important to you and how you can recalibrate your passion and purpose this summer. It's going to be really simple and really fun. And it's a smaller group. I'm not looking for a massive crowd here, only 5 to 10 people. So will you be one of these individuals, one of these badasses to hop on the bus with me? I sure hope so, because, Mr. Ocean knows what happens when you hop on the bus to Badassville, don't ya, Bobby?
When the bus arrives at Badassville, you discover it's not a place, it's a state of being. Just as apples are a core ingredient to a healthy diet, Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day is a core ingredient to living a fruitfully badass life. Be bold, be brave, be confident, be badass.